Radio Rahim here with the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi. I think I talk to you more than anybody, man, but it's on purpose. You always come with the best breakdowns. You give me some of the best sound bites because you're not just a boxer, you're not just a champion, you're not just an analyst, but dare I say you are a scientist, sir.
Thanks. So, and of course we see each other a lot at all these press conferences. So
that helps too. But I gotta say that this one is gonna need some serious breakdowns. Now, obviously, you're on the James DeGale side of this ring, so you're going to be looking at things from that perspective. But both sides today called this a 50-50 fight. I'm not talking about the promoter. I'm talking about the guy's dad, you, his trainer. That's pretty unusual in boxing.
I think as much as bad blood as there is, there's also a healthy amount of respect, too, for, the fact that both sides know that the other side can fight, and sometimes you don't want to give credit and whatnot, and there's definitely been plenty of bad blood to maybe warrant not giving one another credit, but at the end of the day, they're all sportsmen, and they understand that from a competitive standpoint, the one can be a risk to themselves, the other guy can be a risk to the other,
Well, for James's sake, he says that he's a pedigree fighter. He's a quality fighter. And Chris is not. He's basically slagged him off as far as the quality of his competition, his performances when he stepped up. So what is the threat that Chris brings to the ring? And do you think that Eubank will be a champion one day?
I think Eubank has the quality that he can, if he can keep improving, to be a champion, absolutely. But I also think that you have a guy who is coming with a youthful excitement. You have a guy who's coming with a lot of fire. You have a guy who has a lot of pressure on him as well. People think only James has the pressure on him because, this the retirement fight, he's calling it and whatnot. But Chris has to prove that he can win at this level. And he's already come up short 2 times at this level. And the only 2 times he's been at this level. So there's a lot of pressure on him too, because if you keep losing at this level, people are going to kind of write you off and say, okay, he's a good fighter, but he can't win at the elite level. I wouldn't say that the pressure is only on James. I'd say the pressure is also on Chris as well. And I think for that reason, you're going to get the best version of Chris in this fight, and I think you're going to get the best version of James. I think people have kind of slept on James based on the last couple of performances that he's had, based on the last few fights that he's had. But really, I think they'll be rather pleasantly surprised on Saturday night. I'm not saying you turn back the clock because I don't believe anybody turns back the clock. But so I don't think you have the James DeGale that won an Olympic gold medal 10 years ago. But you have a James DeGale that has a lot more left than what people may perceive, having seen the last couple of fights. And on Saturday night, I think that will show.
You talked about in the press conference, a fighter knows when it's time to go when he starts getting diminishing returns. He starts fighting guys he could have beat early in his career, and they start beating him. Now, DeGale's only 33 years old. Their records are almost identical, with the exception of 2 fights. They've got the exact same record. But, like I just talked to him about, he's known as a party boy. They're making a big deal about his drinking and all of that. Is that a major element to what could be perceived as his decline?
I think the party boy stuff is more what the media says. James likes to have a good time when he's out, but really in the past 6 months he's been out less than, you can count on one hand the amount of times he's been out and drinking in the past 6 months. So I don't think that the party boy moniker is so much fair to him. I think it's more of a media creation. When he's out, yeah, he likes to have a good time. I think we all like to have a good time and whatnot. But I think at the end of the day, he's also been a world-class guy, and he's a world-class guy because he knows when it's time not to party, And because this fight's been on and off so many times in the past 6 months, he's been mainly training and staying focused. So he's not been really partying, So I wouldn't call James a party boy. There's been much more party. There's been a lot of guys that you could call party boys. Even in the time I've been around boxing. I don't know, Vinny Pazienza, Arturo Gatti, you know what I'm saying? Even before me, guys like Tommy Morrison. I think those are clear party boys. I wouldn't call James a party boy. I say James likes to have a good time, but he still loves his boxing enough to be focused and knows when to nail it down.
Even Senior made a big issue about mental strength and spirituality versus physicality, and maybe youth, a better physique, maybe more conditioning. Do you think that it's a hurdle for Chris Eubank Jr. in this fight mentally? Is James DeGale the better of the two when it comes to mental preparation and ring generalship, IQ in there?
I think they're both mentally very strong fighters. I think Eubank Senior probably has to step out a little bit of his self. I think sometimes when your own blood is fighting you, you kind of take a biased approach. You have a different approach than maybe what the reality is. For me, the reality is this: Eubank Jr. is actually very strong a fighter who's very mentally strong. It's physically that he can't get through the gears. It's the opposite of what Eubank Sr. is saying. I don't see Eubank Jr. as a guy who can go through the gears that James DeGale can get through. You know what I'm saying? James DeGale has many wrinkles to his style. He can adjust. He can do a lot of things that Chris Eubank Jr. cannot do. But I think Chris Eubank Jr. has a very strong mind mentally. He's in there for the long haul, whether it's tough or not. It's hard to get him out of there, and he's going to be in your face throwing bombs, with keeping the winning mentality up the whole time. You know, and I think he's very strong mentally in that way. But at the same time, there's not reason to think James DeGale is not. When fights have gotten tough for James DeGale, he's stuck it out and he's never been stopped himself. So I think from a perspective of what Eubank Sr. is saying, I think he's got it wrong. But I'm on the outside step looking in. He's on the inside looking in. Sometimes you got to take a step back and assess the situation from a distance. I don't think he has, because if he thinks his son is of a physical level that can match James DeGale, I think he's wrong, personally. But I think on a mental level, they can match each other, because both guys have the hunger and the desire to be willing to suffer to win a fight.
A guy that I saw just about 48 hours ago come a little bit out of what his mental disposition usually is Anthony Joshua. I'm not sure if you caught that press conference, but I'm pretty sure you probably watched it with Big Baby Miller. Yeah, right. Yeah, the highlights were kind of lowlights. What do you make of that fight? And has Big Baby Miller kind of won the first round of the mental game?
No, I wouldn't say that, but I think it makes things fun, you know, and I think everybody's getting into their element, you know, and then people are going to enjoy this promotion, you know. I wouldn't even call them lowlights. This is boxing, this is combat, you know. Look at the WWE. They script everything, and yet there's enough trash talk to still sell a fight that people know is scripted. You need trash talk, you need bad blood in combat sports. I'm sorry, we're not playing ping pong, we're not playing table tennis. So when everybody says, oh, there's no need for that, yes, there is. There actually is a need for that, because people are going to watch two guys fight, and they want to see them legitimately not like each other and want to get their hands on each other, not being able to wait to get their hands on each other, you know? And when they have that, they buy the fight, they watch the fight, even when it's scripted, like WWE proves. So hence, if you have it in a real fight, I think it's going to sell great. And I think AJ and Miller did a great job of hyping up their fight. Yeah, you know what? AJ maybe didn't look like the poster child for being a role model for once, you know, but that happens. He's a fighter, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think fighters or athletes are supposed to be role models, you know what I'm saying? Granted, they wind up in positions to be role models, but you know, we're all human beings and we all have perfection. We all have good qualities and we all have imperfections. I think what wound up happening with AJ and Miller in the press conference is, you know, bad blood a little bit, you know, trash talking a little bit. You know, you're going to fight one another, so you know you're trying to get that mental edge, and of course, nobody can talk trash like a real New Yorker. You know what I'm saying? And Jarrell Miller's a real New Yorker, so he can get in there and he can talk trash with the best of them. He's a street kid, so you know that fight went, that press conference went a little haywire, but I think it's good for the promotion.
What happens in the ring? What about once that bell rings and the trash talking's done? You know,
in the ring, I think AJ is very proven. You know, against the top level, he can stare down negativity and be on the canvas and whatnot, and he can get up and still have the winning mentality. So I think AJ's proven in there. Miller is undefeated, but he's also been the kind of guy who's got so much experience. He's got so much experience that he's getting kickboxing, K1, boxing. He looks very, very calm in there. You know what I'm saying? So he's bringing a calmness to the ring as well that brings a risk to AJ, because he's totally comfortable no matter what kind of fight he's in. So I think it's a great fight.
Who do you have winning?
You know, you probably favor AJ, but it's a fight where, you know, again, I know Jarrell Miller, bro. He comes to fight. He's not going to come to back down, you know? But, of course, AJ has that punching power, so we'll see.
Now, I see your team starting to make moves at the door, so I won't hold you too long. But there's a big fight coming up. Obviously, from this side of the pond, especially Amir Khan coming over to New York to fight Terence Crawford. I got to get your breakdown on that fight.
A couple of years ago, before the Khan before Canelo, I think would have been a real stylistic nightmare for anybody who boxes, and I think his record proves that. Anybody who boxes is a problem. But I think that at this point in time, Crawford has the advantage.
Radio Rahim with the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi. Let you catch up with your team, man. Always a pleasure. Radio Rahim with the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi.